What's going on, everybody? It is Tuesday night, and you are tuned in to the Stoned On Sports Podcast. My name is Matt. This other cat with me is Kyle, and tonight we're going to be giving some news on some injuries that have happened in the baseball world. We're going to go over some what we think are maybe some must-grab waiver wire targets, and we've also got some predictions for the upcoming season. Before we jump into all of that, do want to say thank you to all of our subscribers and listeners, everybody that comes to hang out with us. We are on the march to 200 subscribers, and we can't get there without you. So if you enjoy what you see, consider hitting that like button and dropping us a sub. Kyle, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing great, man. Baseball, couple days away. Thursday, opening day. Always a great day for baseball fans. Love it. I'm very excited, especially for some fantasy. Got a couple leagues this year, my regular home league, and then of course the podcast listener league as well, which we just drafted on Sunday. Everybody, a quick draft, wasn't it? About 40
Yeah.
minutes, just flew. I loved it. Everybody was on their game there, throwing their picks in quick, and yeah, good luck to everyone. It's going to be a long season.
Yes, it is, but it's going to be a fun season as well. We got Dubo in the chat. What up, fellas? What's going on, brother? Appreciate you coming through as always. Appreciate you joining the listener league. We're really looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Going to be really interested to see who finishes in second place because we all know I'm going to win it.
All right. So
Yeah.
big injuries. What do we got?
Well, we got a few. Some of these are newer. Some are a little bit older, but we're going to try and keep you as up to date as possible.
Right.
First off the board, we're going to talk about
Nope.
Matt McClain. I guess I spoiled that there and hit the wrong button.
You did.
Matt McClain, second baseman for the Cincinnati Reds. This one's kind of interesting because there isn't a whole lot of detail out there. He's getting a second opinion on his sore left shoulder. He's gonna open the season on the IL. The one thing that the team has confirmed, there's no bone chip or there's no fracture, but that still leaves several possibilities for what it could be. Honestly, we're not going to know more until they release the results of that second opinion.
Yep.
And there was a quote from manager David Bell, and these are 4 words you never want to hear, especially coming from your doctor. There was something found.
Yeah.
He continues, I do know we're going to have a discussion of some of the options as far as what treatment he gets. There's the potential for surgery, but not necessarily. So, things are still kind of up in the air. It's looking like Jonathan India and Spencer Steer are going to be splitting time there at second base and as well as DH while he's out. And the team did trade for former All-Star middle infielder Santiago Espinal. Maybe I'm butchering his name.
From the Blue Jays.
Yep, from the Blue Jays for a minor leaguer. His NFBC ADP since the injury is 276, 216 spots worse than his high of 60.
Yeah, you'll find a lot of these folks we're going to talk about their ADP stock has plummeted somewhat, and rightly so, really. It is McClain's non-throwing shoulder. I don't know how that's going to matter. Maybe he'll be able to DH if it's something, I don't know. We'll see. Santiago's not a bad replacement. They hurry up and got on the phone and traded for him. He was a all-star in 2022. I think his role was pretty much reduced last season. Only playing in 93 games. But so it's interesting how they're going to shuffle around that infield there. I think since McClain is out, you'll see Candelario definitely sliding into third and more playing time to Encarnacion Strand at first.
Yeah, and quite frankly, they've got that infield full of young guys, and that's what they need is playing time.
Sure.
They need at-bats. And though the situation is unfortunate, they're going to get that.
Yeah. But like you said, Steer and India, probably going to platoon that a bit. So, heck yeah.
Yeah, and I was reading earlier, India might even lead off. So if he's available on your wire, yes, I will definitely take the leadoff hitter for an offense like that.
Sure.
All right, moving along. We got somebody else to talk about. Kevin Gausman, starting pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays. He's building back up since dealing with right shoulder fatigue earlier in the spring. He did have a start yesterday, 3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned, no walks, 7 strikeouts. He was looking to build to around 60 to 65 pitches. Quite frankly, that line, even though it's only 3 innings, looks pretty goddamn good. Best case scenario is he joins the back of the rotation, but the team's not going to rush him. It all really depends on how he was going to feel today coming off of that start. And just looking before we come on here, he looks to be on track to make the opening day rotation.
Yep.
Something to keep in mind, though. Yeah, his first start or 2 is likely going to be abbreviated. They're not going to run him out there for 100 pitches. He's not going to go out there and throw a complete game. Nothing like that. He's still got some ramp up to do. His ADP since last Thursday is around 43, 44. And it's a couple rounds off of his high of 23. Right now, he's the 11th pitcher off the board. And I think just even as we get closer to Thursday and opening day, you're going to see that discount on him disappear. If you manage to pick him up as the 11th starting pitcher off the board, I am absolutely thrilled with that just because of the massive strikeout upside he brings.
Yeah. I mean, it's very possible he makes a start in the 4th or 5th game of the season. We'll see. I mean, if I'd take a Gausman for 4 or 5 innings than missing a couple weeks and having to ramp up again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, I forgot to put the banner up.
That's all right. We all knew that, buddy. It's okay. All right. You know what? We're going to stay with the Blue Jays, and they're dealing with some shit this spring. Jordan Romano, he's dealing with right elbow inflammation. He's received treatment for it, but he's going to start the season on the IL. Yimi Garcia is likely the first in line for saves, but Chad Green might also get a little bit of love. An interesting thing about the Blue Jays schedule and just kind of how it plays out, their first 10 games are on the road. There's no structural damage with what's going on with him. So that is definitely a big relief. His ADP is down to 138. So you're looking 13th round, somewhere we'll call it 11th to 13th round, just depending on your league size. You had a high of 77. He's been as consistent as they come in the closer role over the last several years, and it's also been pretty damn quiet as well. He doesn't get the fantasy love that I think he's rightly deserved, and missing possibly the first month of the season is not going to further that cause. But still, I'm pretty happy with being able to get him where he is at 138. 77, I think, was just a little bit rich for me.
It was, and he hasn't pitched since March 10th due to that elbow injury. But early spring, he pitched in 5 games, allowed just 1 earned run across 4 and a third innings with 6 strikeouts. I was looking at some of his StatCast stuff, and I noticed for his fastball, he gets 7.5 feet of extension. It's the 3rd best of all of baseball for that fastball there, only behind Diaz and Devin Williams.
Damn,
pretty good.
Hell yeah, it is.
Pretty good. But when he's back and healthy, watch out.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a team who, at least for me, I don't think they're going to be out there just blowing people out. So they're going to be playing in some closer games, and there should be plenty of save opportunities for whoever is manning that 9th inning role. We've got a little theme here. Oh, look at this. Loud Boy's in the house. Dope shirt. Yes, it is.
Thanks, man. Heck yeah. Stone Down Sports Podcast shirt. Matt's got the hat on. I got the shirt on. Hell
That's
yeah.
it. We're repping it. Appreciate you coming through, Loud Boy. All right. We're going to stick with the theme of pitchers here. We're going to head to Baltimore. We're going to talk about Kyle Bradish. This dude, he really broke out last year. And this year, started out with some bullshit. Right UCL sprain that he got in January at the start of his throwing program. He did start throwing off a mound on March 13th. According to Orioles GM Mike Elias, he's expected to be back early in the first half of the season. Look, we don't know what the hell that means, right? There is no actual official timeline for his return. Best case scenario right now is late April or early May, but I would bet on that being a bit longer, maybe mid to late May. His current ADP is just $3.99, essentially free.
Yeah.
You know, it's down from a high of 156. Tyler Wells and Cole Irvin are going to be stepping into the rotation in place of Bradish and another injured pitcher they have, John Means. Wells has pitched well this spring. Irvin is nothing to write home about and not worth adding. If he can get back to what he showed us last year, or even give us 85% of that, he's an absolute steal at $3.99 overall.
I agree. And he's going to take a handful of weeks to ramp back up because he hasn't, pitched in any games during spring training. Can you imagine a healthy rotation? It's got to be one of the better ones. Burns, Bradish, Grayson, Dean Kramer, and a combination of Means and Wells. It's a pretty damn good rotation if healthy.
Hell yeah, it is. They're going to need it there in the AL East, which is typically a meat
Very
grinder.
tough. Very tough.
Speaking of the AL East, let's stay there. And we're going to talk about Josh Lowe, outfielder for the Tampa Bay Rays. He is dealing with a grade 1 oblique strain. And he suffered that while rehabbing a left hip injury. So his spring has kind of been cursed. He's been receiving treatment and working out, but he's not resumed baseball activities. He's going to be out for at least the first 10 days of the season. And there is, again, no official timeline for his return. Even when he does come back, he's going to need a good amount of at-bats out on a rehab assignment before you see him back up in the show. We're looking late April, early May, barring any setbacks, hopefully. Richie Palacios is going to be taking his place. He's got a decent hit tool and a little bit of speed. He doesn't strike out much, but I'm likely not looking to add him outside of AL-only leagues. His current ADP is at 165, down about 8 or 9 rounds from his high of 70.
My internet's bad. It's storming here. Sorry, everyone.
Oh, it's all right.
I have Josh Lowe. I drafted him on my home team, and just a rash of injuries, man. McClain and Sewald and Emmett Sheehan. I've just fucking games ain't even played yet. Half my roster's dropping to the ground. But so Josh Lowe, you're not dropping him. He's way too valuable to drop. Keep him. Last season hit 292 with 20 and 32 stolen bases. So yeah, you don't throw a 20-30 guy onto the bench. So put him on your IL, keep him, activate him when he gets healthy.
Absolutely. And really any of these guys, if you've got them, you're not going to drop them.
No. Next up, closer for the Diamondbacks, Paul Sewald. Has a grade 2 left oblique strain. Going to start the season on the injured list here. Today's report suggested he can miss weeks. If you look at ESPN or MLB, they got him as an ETA of 4.8. I don't think that's probably going to happen. A simple Google search will tell you that can often sideline players, 6 to 8 weeks roughly. So that's a blow to the Diamondbacks. It's a blow to fantasy managers as well, myself included. Really because the way that he kind of transformed that bullpen when he got traded there last year. It definitely was a weakness, and he made it a strength after he arrived there. So definitely don't keep him. He should be stashed. Keep him on the IL. This is the first. He's been durable this whole year. First time on the IL in 7 years. So hopefully it's just this one-time thing. Looks like the Diamondbacks will go to the 8th inning guy, Kevin Ginkel. We'll talk a little bit more about him last year. I think that he's going to fill that. He'll at least get the first crack at it, but I think he'll fill that role nicely. Sewald's dropped a bit, current ADP of 167, down from 104 a couple weeks ago. So that stuff's going to happen, but I hope it's not 6 to 8 weeks because effed.
Yeah. And you talked about Ginkel. He likely will get first crack at it, but you want to remember too, before the team acquired Sewald last year, that was a closer by committee situation. And anyone who plays fantasy football and hears the by committee, the running back committee,
sure,
it's never usually good. Now with this, if Ginkel comes in and converts his first couple of opportunities, they'll likely stick with him. I think he is the ad for sure.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we'll get into more of him in a moment. Next up is, I forgot, Jhoan Duran from the Twins. Closer as well. Moderate oblique strain there. ETF around the 22nd of this month. Listen, he's going to be available here eventually. You're seeing a lot of these oblique strains this spring, and I looked a little bit last year, and you saw it a little bit or a lot of last year in spring training as well. So he had 27 saves last season, so not somebody you're gonna drop or anything. Justin Topa and Caleb Thielbar probably would have been the closer opportunities, but they too are injured. So it looks like Griffin Jax, who we'll talk about a little bit later as well, will get the opportunities to start the season. And Duran's dropped a bit as well. He was, high about 66 of an ADP. He's down to 140 as of this morning. So how do you feel about him?
He's somebody I actually have on my home league team. So I drafted him 2 days later. His ass got hurt. I can empathize with you and McClain. I know you've got him, and we were talking about him a little bit earlier, and all the other Duran and McClain owners out there. Look, I get it. It sucks. The oblique thing, one thing to keep in mind is that he needs to be extra careful, even more so than Sewald does, because of how hard he throws.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, he runs it up there 103, 104, and maybe that's exaggerating a little bit. And, it's the ballpark gun there. They amp it up a little bit for the home team, but still, dude's out there throwing straight gas. That puts a lot of strain on those oblique muscles and the core muscles there along the side of your, well, for me, it's gut, but, for a professional athlete, we'll just call it abdomen or core. So yeah, I mean, when he's healthy, he is an absolute elite option. We just got to get him back there.
Yep. Okay. Next up, starting pitcher Bryan Woo with the Mariners. They really are putting a nice staff together out there in the Northwest there in Seattle with, Gilbert and Kirby and this guy going to be the fifth star. Well, would have been the fifth starter. Yesterday placed on the 15-day IL due to elbow inflammation. So at least 15 days, talking probably about the end of April, right around the 25th, probably. Showed no structural damage, but he'll be shut down for 7 days, and then he'll begin to start throwing up big again and ramping up. I mentioned before, going to be the number 5 starter, so a pretty decent blow to them. Looks like Emerson Hancock is scheduled already to start the April 1st against Cleveland. Bryan Woo's that he was going to throw that against that game. Woo's dealt with the same thing last year. It was more right forearm inflammation, but he was on the IL for, I think, 18 days last season. And his ADP of 229 has dropped down from 182. He was just under 200 picks, but looking to be back. I think he'll be fine. Just got to watch.
Yeah, the team was sweating it when they sent him for the MRI, and they're happy that, obviously there's no structural damage. But in the back of my mind, there's got to be some concern because he missed some time late last year with forearm inflammation. And now he's dealing with elbow inflammation. I don't know where in the hell all this stuff comes from, but this is starting to become a problem. At least in my opinion, it is. you're missing time for 2 consecutive seasons, and we're talking about a very short time box between the end of last year and now the start of this year. He's dealing with more stuff. The dude has one of the best fastballs in the game. So it is, even though he's a number 5 starter, that's still a big hole in their rotation, but they're going to handle him with kid gloves. He's a young dude. They're not going to rush him back. And I, I wouldn't either. That'd be completely stupid. So, don't be surprised if, maybe he's on the IL for a couple days more than absolute minimum just to be extra sure.
Yeah. Okay, next up we got Taijuan Walker, starting pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. I'm kind of high on this guy this year. Diagnosed with right shoulder impingement on Sunday. And this is sometimes called swimmer's shoulder. Impingement is some pretty excruciating pain caused by the connective tissue rubbing on a shoulder blade. So, like I say, it's definitely common. I knew I had heard it before, and it's definitely common with swimmers. ETA, I probably wouldn't look until early May, maybe as early as the first week there. Everything tested fine. But his quote was, "The ball's just not coming out the way he would like." And this kind of sucks for him because he was already kind of behind the 8 ball here in spring training after missing time with knee soreness early. Let's see. The last time he pitched this spring was against the Orioles. It was bad. It was bad. He allowed 7 runs over 2 2/3 innings, which was what was most concerning. Looking at the data, was his lack of command, and the velocity has really dropped. His fastball was in the high 80s to low 90s. He throws a lot harder than that. So looks like our ex-Detroit Tigers Spencer Turnbull is going to get the couple turns in the rotation at the start of the season. We'll see how he does. I don't say he's a streaming option at best. You want to play matchups for that, but it's not somebody I'm running out to grab right now. But Taijuan Walker, definitely his ADP has dropped a bunch too.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, what you were accounting for him on, or counting, you all know what the hell I meant. Anyways, what you were looking for out of him really this year was innings. He was somebody who go out there, eat some innings for you. The Phillies are a pretty damn good team. So you thought, all right, maybe there's a decent chance for some wins here and there. Look, his spring was already delayed and behind schedule because he had some knee soreness. He didn't even make his first start until mid-March this spring. The only treatment for this, physical therapy and rest. That's it. I'm not going to hold on to him, depending on how many IL slots I have and just what that whole situation is for me. If he's odd man out, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. But if I've got the IL slot for him, yeah, absolutely. I'll hang on to him and at least see how things progress and reevaluate as needed. And we got one more we're going to talk about. No visual graphics or anything like that because news of this just come out a little bit earlier afternoon. Dylan Carlson, he was looking to start in center field on opening day for the Cardinals because Tommy Edman was hurt. Well, guess what? His ass is hurt now. Suffered a shoulder injury in an outfield collision with Jordan Walker yesterday. He was scheduled to have an X-ray and MRI, so there aren't really a whole lot of details available right now, but we do know that Victor Scott is going to be starting in center field for those St. Louis Cardinals. So we'll get a chance to see an extended look at him maybe.
Yeah, kind of. What an unfortunate blow to the Cardinals there. A planned outfield of Walker and right, Edman in center, and Nootbaar in left, and then Edman and Nootbaar are hurt. Kind of opened the door for Carlson. Now it's a misfortune for sure.
Yeah, it is. And especially at this point in spring when everybody's just trying to get out of there healthy and get on to opening day. You hate to see something like this happen. I mean, really anytime, but when you're talking about the last game or two of spring training, it sucks even more.
And you mentioned Victor Scott. It'll be interesting to see. He got strong grades for his speed and his defense, but there were concerns about his bat. So we'll see how he can handle that.
All right. I think we've talked enough about these jabronis who've managed to get themselves hurt in games that don't count. Why don't we talk about some opportunity on the waiver wire?
So waivers, you know, if you play in a league that uses straight waivers, I think you have to be pretty diligent to get the players you need. So because you don't really want to be, reckless. So you lose your like top waiver priority, and the options aren't that great. That kind of sucks. Conversely, if your league uses a fab, that the free agent acquisition budget, we use that in the podcast listener league. Um, you need to know when to be aggressive when you're bidding, and you need to know when to hold back and save dollars for, a rainy day. Just because I just want to give this warning about stuff, because just because a player is off to a hot start in April doesn't mean you should break the bank to get him. And I think waivers is about patience too. Players hit peaks and valleys. Baseball, if anything, is an extremely streaky sport. So don't lose patience and churn your roster over or your bench too quickly to start the season. Let things play out. And I know Matt's talked about, it just doesn't start really ramping up until the warmer months. Once you get out of April, sometimes they're still playing games and there's snow and sleet and ugly. I know you felt the same way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And some players are just notoriously slow starters. So before you go cutting bait on somebody, head on over to Baseball Reference and just see, look at their splits from seasons past, first half, second half. There's a lot of good information there. And at the end of the day, players typically play to the stats that are on the back of their baseball card. It's a little bit different in points leagues versus roto, where roto, you're just looking to bank counting stats. Points leagues, it's a whole new ball game every week. But that's what we're here to help with as well. So if you have, roster or lineup decisions, you're looking at making some moves, hop into the chat. We're happy to help you out. We'll give you the best advice we can give you. And you know what? We're going to be here week after week. If we're wrong, come give it to us. If we're right, come on and dap it up. All right. So our first waiver wire target, Yimi Garcia, reliever for the Toronto Blue Jays. He's looked good in 8 appearances so far this spring, 9 innings pitched, a 2 flat ERA, a whip of just .667, 9 strikeouts, 2 walks, 4 hits, and 2 home runs. He's probably going to get the first look for saves in Toronto with Romano is out. He is a temporary solution. He's not somebody who's going to retain his value once Romano comes back, unless you're in a holds league or a saves plus holds league. But in leagues like that, chances are he might even be rostered. Overall, right now, he's rostered in just 10% of Yahoo leagues. And this was as of yesterday. I'm sure, there are some savvy owners out there who may have gone to the wire and picked him up. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's a little bit higher. But at the end of the day, we're not talking about somebody who's rostered in like 70% of leagues. Saves are one of the things you can find on the waiver wire all season long.
It is. He's a good choice. 3 saves, 19 holds last year with a 4.09 ERA. He had 15 saves back in 2021, so he's definitely capable. And like you mentioned, he's been pretty good this spring. I think he's kind of been lucky with a .095 BABIP. So, but he's feeling good and looking good. So, it's all about, waiver renting that player for a couple weeks. Sometimes we all do it throughout the season, and you catch them on those hot streaks because you pay attention and do a little read and do a little research. It can really help you win weeks.
Oh, absolutely. And baseball is such a high variance sport, right? Even the best players, Ronald Acuna, he's going to go 0 for 4.
Sure.
But you look at basketball, like LeBron James ain't going for no points, rebounds, assists, nothing like that. You go to football and fucking Pat Mahomes is not going to throw for 0 yards.
Right.
It's something that you live with, and it's part of what makes the game so great.
It is.
So the next target we got is second baseman Jordan Westburg of the Baltimore Orioles, and he's another one of these just amazing young prospects coming down the pike there in Baltimore. He's going to be hitting in the bottom of the order, but he does have a little bit of pop in his bat. He's got above average exit velocity and hard hit rate. He strikes out a little bit more than average, walks a little bit less. He's going to have plenty of opportunity to score runs, though, if he can get on base, hitting there at the bottom of the order and then turning it over and getting to those top 2-3 guys in the lineups. It is really going to help with his run production. He's got a solid hit tool. I think he's got a chance to hit 260 with 15, maybe even 20 home runs. Still, I like him more as a middle infielder than my starting second baseman, but at the end of the day, I'll live with it. Part of that because of the team context and just the overall talent that the kid has. He's only rostered in a little over 30% of Yahoo leagues. So he's out there and he's available. I think he's worth taking a shot on.
Yeah, he's kind of with with so many talented guys, players in the Orioles organization, he kind of feels like the forgotten name, does he not?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He came to the majors with a decent amount of hype last season, and 20 to 15 potential in a very good lineup. Definitely could happen for him. The biggest obstacle might be Mount Baltimore out there in left field, limiting his home runs a bit. So we'll see.
All right. We kind of hinted at this guy just a few moments ago. He's got kind of a cool name too. It's not quite like Dick Mayhem level of cool name, but maybe this is a tier or two down. I'm talking about Griffin Jax, reliever from the Minnesota Twins. With Duran out, he's probably going to get first crack at saves. And this is a dude, and this is kind of a callback to when we were talking about starting pitchers and relief pitchers doing our preview. He satisfies the Kevin Brown quotient, which means his ground ball rate added to his strikeout rate equals more than 75%. He's got just a ridiculous 55.2% ground ball rate and above average 24.8% strikeout rate. Kyle, if you want to double check my math, go ahead. He doesn't walk too many people, and he does a good job of keeping the ball in the ballpark. And that are really the two key things for relievers, just because you're dealing with such a small sample size. You don't want dudes who issue free passes. You don't want dudes that are out there just serving up dong. He's got a better than average defense behind him. He might lose the occasional save opportunity to Brock Stewart, but provided he doesn't completely shit the bed with this opportunity, he should get the vast majority of the save chances. And he's a little more rostered than, some of the other guys we've talked about. It was 52% of Yahoo leagues, but still you're looking at half of Yahoo leagues where, again, there's saves out there and available on the wire.
Yep. Sorry, I lost my train of thought, but Jax has been really a primary draft and hold target for me in recent years, just for his chance to steal some saves. But now that he's going to be the closer there while Duran returns, I think he could get 10 plus saves before he returns. And
Oh,
do you
sure.
know how fantastic that is for value off the wire? Amazing. So brings excellent ratios and that strikeout upside. I liked him. All right, what do we got here? Dubo's got a question there, and it just went away. Now, thoughts on Kyle Gibson or the starting rotation for the Cardinals? Why they all available still?
All right, so Kyle Gibson.
I stashed Gibson on my fantasy team, but go ahead.
Oh, he's similar to Taijuan Walker in that he's an innings eater, right? He's going to give you 160 to 180 innings, an ERA, probably right around 4. Strikes out a little bit fewer than league average, but he also doesn't walk a whole hell of a lot of guys either. So he's not giving up the free passes. And speaking more holistically about the Cardinals rotation, I think that could sum up most of the guys that they have there. Just there's a bunch of KG vets, we'll call them, There isn't
Sure.
anybody on the staff with overpowering stuff. You don't have a dude who's, going to go out there and strike out 10, 11 guys outing after outing. But you've got some solid veteran pitchers there who know how to pitch. And it kind of gets to the debate of like pitching versus throwing, right? These guys know how to pitch. A lot of them are late career guys who understand what exactly their stuff is and isn't at this point, and they've adapted to that. Um, there isn't any of them going to make an all-star team this year. I, would almost bet my bottom dollar on that. But somebody like Kyle Gibson, if I had him as my, fifth or sixth starter, I'm okay with that. I'm
Yeah.
not thrilled about it, but he's not going to kill me anywhere.
He had a great start today, actually, in Arizona there in the Grapefruit League. 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 9 Ks. 8 of the Ks were on his slider. So it's looking
No
good,
kidding.
feeling it. So
Sure.
I knew I read it earlier today because I was checking out my team. So
No, that's good info. And he's another dude in pitchers, especially. You'll notice that pitchers will go on a run of 3, 4, 5 starts where they just look automatic, and then they'll get taken behind the woodshed for another couple starts. And so really it's identifying with pitchers like this who are not just set it and forget it kind of guys. When are they starting a hot streak? Ride it for as long as you can, cut bait, either put them on the bench or drop them, drop them to waivers. There was, Uncle Ted was on here talking the other day, streaming from your bench versus streaming from waivers. And there's merit to both of them. It really just comes down to how much work do you really want to put in? Because if you're going to stream from waivers, you're not just looking at next week. You want to look a couple weeks out to see who has the plus matchups and who to avoid.
excellent. Great question.
Hopefully that answers the questions there.
Right. Supersonic said he dropped Wong and picked up Westburg. I know I saw the notification on my phone. So
Nice.
It works out.
Smart move, brother. Smart move.
It works out for you there, loud boy.
But not too much.
Right.
Well, I mean, we saw his draft. Anyways, moving along. Reese Olson.
Let's talk about a good old boy there from Detroit.
Yes. So he is somebody who both Kyle and I were high on coming into the season just because of some of the peripheral data that's out there on him. He's looked solid this spring. 14 2/3 innings pitched, 14 strikeouts, 6 earned, gave up 1 home run, walked 4 dudes. And just kind of reiterate some of the stuff that we talked about in a couple of our videos where he was featured. He's got that 10-mile-an-hour delta between his 4-seamer and his slider, which you love to see. His slider has a 41.6% whiff rate and clocks in at 2989 RPMs, which is just absolutely insane. He's got a curveball and changeup that are both over 30% with their whiff rate. The stuff isn't super dominant, though, but he should get you a strikeout per inning. He's not going to get a shit ton of run support. The Tigers' offense is improving, but I don't think anybody in their right mind would say it's really good at this point, but you love the park. Detroit is one of, if not the best pitchers park in the league. It's up there with Seattle. He needs to work on limiting his hard contact, though. His average exit velocity is in the bottom 8% of the league. Something interesting about the Tigers. They have a very soft schedule to start the season with series against the White Sox, the Mets, the A's, and the Pirates. And this is a cat who's only rostered in 16% of Yahoo leagues, but he is rostered in our listener league because good old Lunk scooped his ass up before I could. Congratulations to you, buddy. I think he's a great ad, and he's definitely worth a flyer. Again, not a set it and forget it kind of guy. You're going to want to play the matchups with him, but in the right matchups, he can give you some damn quality innings.
Okay, I'm going to go homer here, but I really think people are sleeping on how good the Tigers pitching can be this season. I think when you saw Matt Manning sent down to AAA, I think that's the first sign where you saw that things might be different this year. I'm really looking forward to Mize and Olson as well, and watching Tarek Skubal. And I think Chris Fetter, you know him as well. He was with Michigan for a minute there, Michigan baseball for a minute. But he's an up-and-coming pitching coach in this league. The assistant pitching coach there, Robin Lund, same thing. Both of guys are very highly talked about. You'll see what he's done with, Reese Olson and Tarek Skubal, a little minor mechanical change this spring. Jack Flaherty, who we'll talk about in a moment, his velocity is up this spring. So I'm really excited about the pitching staff there. And the defense was pretty good last year as well. So I'm hoping we could win this division.
That's putting quite a strain on the word hope there, but
well. All right, next up.
Next up, Gavin Stone, starting pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers. All he did was come into camp and earn the 5th starter job, at least until Clayton Kershaw and Walker Buehler get back from injury. He got knocked around quite a bit last year. 8 home runs, 9 flat ERA, a 1.9 whip, a goddamn FIP over 6.5, 22 strikeouts in 31 innings. Good for an ERA plus of 49. And remember, those plus stats are normalized to 100, which means he was 51% worse than average. That ain't good, brother. However, he's looked pretty damn good this spring. 9 2/3 innings, 9 strikeouts, 5 hits, an earned run, a whip of .62, and 33 batters faced. I don't really need to say much about the run support that he should get. He's going to be rostered he's rostered in 43% of leagues. One thing to keep in mind, though, with the Dodgers is, and most of you have probably heard some rumblings about this, that they're more than likely going to go to a 6-man rotation. And what does a 6-man rotation mean? Good luck getting those 2 start weeks.
Yeah, that's never going to happen.
Which is gravy when it comes to your starting pitching.
Are they back to that? I thought I read 2 weeks ago they definitely weren't going to do that, but
they may not at the start, but just as players come back and get healthy, you've got Sheehan who's hurt, Kershaw, Walker Buehler.
Yeah.
They've got a damn all-star team of injured pitchers.
Yeah. What I do like about Stone's improvement were his walks. He was 3.8 walk per 9. It's down to 0.9 walk per 9. So I like that. Hopefully he can get this opportunity to show what he can really do while these other players are out with injury. Get some time on the mound in the majors. You got to get it. Okay. Next up. His name's been floating along. You might have heard about him, Kevin Ginkel, because Paul Sewald, the closer there for the Diamondbacks, went out. This is the pretty much the 8th inning guy last year as well. Real fiery guy, very energetic. I think he's a hot waiver wire pickup for saves today. He's going to get the first crack at it, as we mentioned earlier, because Sewald's out with that oblique strain. Last season, career best in really every category. He was a pinch closer during some of the rougher times as well. When, like Matt mentioned before, Sewald got there, it was kind of a closer by committee. But he kind of brought a stability and an energy that really helped breathe life into that shitty bullpen at the time. Shitty bullpen there with Sewald as well. Last season, he was a 2.48 ERA, a 0.98 whip in 65 innings pitched, 70 strikeouts, 23 walks, and 4 saves. Also pretty damn dominant in the postseason. Well, why the Diamondbacks went to the World Series, 11 2/3 innings pitched, 15 strikeouts, and only a couple walks. Now, nothing's set in stone yet. We'll see. They got Scott McGough there, who had 9 saves last season. Miguel Castro could be another option, but I really just don't see it. I think Ginkel shines when the lights are brightest, and this would be an opportunity for him to get some saves for your fantasy team. Looking at some of his projections, though, they're kind of less fantastic. There's some regression there. You expect a similar ERA, but projecting an increase over a full run and a slightly worse walk rate and strikeout rate. That's not really worrying people very much, including me. He shot up draft board so far, an ADP of 638 a couple weeks ago. He's all the way up to 326. He's cut that in half. So he's only rostered about 27% on Yahoo. He'd be a fine ad while Sewald's out. I don't know if he'll get 10 saves like I mentioned for who? Shit. I can't remember. But anyway, good pickup.
All right. Yeah, he is. I mean, he's going to give you better than a strikeout per inning, a sub-1 whip. Walks are a little bit more than what you'd like to see. I think he had a walks per 9 somewhere around like 3.2. So especially for a reliever, you hate to see a walk number that high. You might get a month's worth of saves out of him, whatever that ends up being. If that's, 1 a week, 2 a week, somewhere in that, we'll call it 7 to 10 range, maybe. And maybe that's a little bit proud of an estimate there, but at the same time, we don't exactly know when Sewald's going to be back. Could be the end of April. It could be mid-May. And if he can go in there and show that he can hold down that role, he had, 4 or 5 saves last year, so he's got some experience doing it. And you wouldn't think that, all right, coming in the 8th versus coming in the 9th, there's still a big difference there, especially psychologically, because when you're a reliever, specifically a closer, you got to have a short memory, because you may go out there and blow the save tonight and your ass is going to get called on to come right back out there tomorrow and hold that shit down. And you can't have yesterday lingering in your head. I think with just the emotion level and the intensity that he brings, I think he's a good option. And again, like if he doesn't work out, you can find saves on the wire.
Absolutely.
Whoops.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. Now another Tigers pitcher who I was just mentioning a moment ago, Jack Flaherty, veteran there with the Tigers, signed a deal with them this offseason. It's a nice pickup. Okay. He's been having a nice spring. Okay. He's not going to recapture his all-star form there, like 2019, but Comerica, as we've mentioned many times, is kind of to pitchers, and the spring's been good. 6 games, 18 and a third innings pitch. He's got a 2.95 ERA, a sub-1 whip with a critical 26 strikeouts to 4 walks, the ratio. That's just amazing. I mentioned the Chris Fetter, the pitching coach, and Flaherty working with him as well. Last season, his fastball started at 93. He's been averaging around 94.3 this spring. In fact, the game on March 19th that he started, he hit 97. So looking good. So his secondaries also looking good, getting a ton of whiffs on curves, 63% whiff percentage, 40% on slider, 33% on his change, and 26% on that 4-seamer. So don't go crazy. 2019's coming back, but he looks much improved after back-to-back seasons of whips around 160, which is just poopy. He's available in 72% of leagues on Yahoo. Worth a look.
And for damn good reason.
I know Uncle Ted, I think, is high on him, if I recall.
Yeah, he was saying that he's going to be this year's, what's that dickhead's name down in Tampa? Zach Eflin. He's been straight ass the past 2 years.
Yes.
He has been awful. He got traded last year from St. Louis to Baltimore. In 7 starts with Baltimore, he went 1-3, had an awesome ERA of 7.11, which was backed up by a 5.06 FIP. He had 38 strikeouts and 31 innings, which is not bad. 12 walks is high, and he gave up 7 home runs, which is, just nuts. You can't have a repeat of that. I think his best case scenario for this year, if he can come in somewhere around a league average pitcher, I would consider that a win. Yeah. But he's another dude, when you look at the strikeout upside, there are matchups when I'd run him out there. For sure.
Absolutely. All right. Last guy for waiver targets, Louie Varland with the Twins. Guy's got dual eligibility, which is extra value there. as well. The number 5 spot there in the rotation, is his. It's now Varland's with Desclafina being out as well. This could go bad. You could pick him up and he could be somebody. He could be back to being a high ERA pitcher from last year, and you could drop him by mid-April. That could happen. But the gains showed in the bullpen, shown in the bullpen down the stretch there in September, October of last season. Maybe you want to hold him. Maybe you give him a roster spot. 12 innings pitched last year in September, October. 42 batters faced, 6 hits, 2 earned run, 1 walk, 17 strikeouts with a slash against of 150, 171, and 300. It's pretty good. Small sample, but pretty damn good. For what it's worth, he gave up a couple homers as well. I mentioned the dual eligibility. I think that's a unique value, especially in leagues where you have mandatory RP spots. I've seen that as well. He's definitely represents an opportunity to capitalize where he might outperform expectations. The Twins are favored to win the division. Every game he pitches, is crucial for them, really. Minors, he was pretty good. He was pretty dominant. A 9.4 strikeout per 9 rate last year. He's usually in the 10%, 11 in his minor league career. Again, that's a different situation as well, but he is capable of doing that. He's also still young. He's only 26. I think the development curve suggests he's ready to make a significant impact. He's available in 62% of leagues on Yahoo. So somebody to look at as well. I know you really like him.
Yeah, I am I'm a Louie Varland truther. And you talked about what he did coming out of the pen, and I think it's important we talk about what he did as a starter as well, because to figure out where you are, you want to know how you got there. 3-3, 56 innings pitched, 54 strikeouts, which isn't awful, 16 walks, a bit high, 5.30 ERA, backed by a 5.49 FIP. So, he wasn't getting a whole lot of help from the defense, but he wasn't giving them much help himself either. Now, just like you said, if the gains that we saw in his performance coming out of the pen, if that sticks, he's a great value. Do you want to say, in the interest of transparency, because we're nothing if not honest and accurate here, he got his ass lit up today against Atlanta. Touched up for 6 runs and 2 home runs in 5 innings pitched today against Atlanta, including Jared Kelnick's first home run of the spring. Somebody who we've kind of talked about too, and was kind of a post-hype sleeper for some folks. At the same time, I like the defense behind him. I think there is some opportunity for profit when it comes to the strikeouts. He's another dude. I'm not just going to set it and forget it, but I think there would be many weeks where he would be in the top 5 to 7 pitchers available on my team.
Makes sense.
Now we got some season predictions to do.
Yeah, want to do something fun, Yeah,
we're bullshit. This ain't fun. We're going on record with what's going to happen this year. This shit ain't a prediction. It's a spoiler. You can take that to DraftKings and then take it to the bank.
Sure you can. All right, why don't you go ahead and go first?
All right. Let me find a cute little graphic you made, which is gone. Oh, there it is. It moved up there. All right.
Say cute. Don't say cute little graphic again.
I know you worked hard on it. So my picks.
Yeah. Copy and paste. Sure did.
In the American League, I've got Baltimore winning the East, the Twinkies winning the Central, the Rangers winning out West. The wild card, I like the Rays, Astros, and Yankees. I think it'll be the Rangers over the Orioles in the ALCS. And then for a couple of award winners, I like Corey Seager to win the MVP, and I kind of like those odds at plus 1,000. For Cy Young, I said it a couple of weeks ago, and my stance has not changed. Give me Tarek Skubal. His odds, he was just a couple of weeks ago, he was like plus 1,300. He's all the way down to plus 900. And for Rookie of the Year, anyone can say Wyatt Langford, but piss on that. I'll go with his teammate, Evan Carter. I'll bet on him figuring out same side pitching to a degree. Over in the senior circuit, I've got Atlanta winning the East, the Cubbies, Ramey, that's for you, in the Central. The West winner, I mean, barring something catastrophic, it's going to be the Dodgers. The wild card, I like the Diamondbacks. I like the Reds, and don't sleep on the Phillies. They're not getting as much hype as Atlanta and the Dodgers this year, but they've got a hell of a squad there. In the NLCS, I like the Dodgers over the Braves. For my MVP, I'm going to go with Freddie Freeman out there with the Dodgers. And really what I did was I looked at him, Ohtani, and Betts, and I took the one with the best odds for me with the highest payout, and that was Freddie Freeman. For Cy Young, it's hard to choose anyone besides Spencer Strider. And for Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with the kid, Jackson Chourio. In my World Series, Dodgers over the Rangers in 6.
We got some similarities, some differences too in mine. American League East winner going with the Yankees. Central, I'm picking my Tigers. I think it could be. I think it could be possible. I think it could be possible. See what happens.
I think there's a little hopium there, but
there's some hopium for sure. Out west, I'll take the Texas Rangers, of course, to win the West. I'm just retarded here. Wild card Orioles, Astros, Rays. You know, three teams in the playoffs there from the AL East is definitely a going to happen, I believe. In the championship series, I'll take the Rangers over the Yankees because piss on the Yankees. MVP, I'll take Juan Soto, even though he does play for the Yankees, at plus 600 on DraftKings. Cy Young, I'll do Framber Valdez at plus 900. And I know you said piss on Wyatt Langford, but you already picked the other guy I wanted to pick. So I went with Wyatt Langford. He is the favorite at plus 225. Over on the other side, East winner, the Braves. Always love the Braves. Central, I also went with the Cubs as well. You're welcome, Ramey. Out west, I think the Diamondbacks are going to win it. I think the Dodgers are going to have too many problems, injuries, distractions with Ohtani that could hang over their head all year. I have them still making the playoffs as a wild card, along with the Phillies and the Reds. And like you said, don't sleep on the Phillies. I took the Dodgers over the Phillies. Actually, they're going to make it to the World Series as a wild card team. NL MVP, Acuna. I just had to pick the favorite. Couldn't pick anybody else. And I think Justin Steele wins the Cy Young and even improves on last season. Rookie of the Year, I like Jackson Merrill out there in San Diego. He's been having a great spring. Very high talk on him. And World Series, I'll do the opposite of you. Rangers, repeating, over the Dodgers in 7 games.
Nice. It's been a quarter century since we've had a repeat champion. You heard it here, like 100th. Kyle thinks that streak ends.
Yep.
I can dig it, brother. I can dig it.
Hey, you never know what's going to happen. We're
remember
having fun here, what I think, and we'll see what happens. I'm a big Rangers.
I remember when we did predictions for the NFL season, me, you, and Ramey pretty much picked all the same shit. So it's nice that there's some difference there.
Yeah, not mostly the same podcast, I think we said.
Right. This is just a little bit of the same podcast.
Awesome. Great show.
It was. And I'm interested, for those of you out there listening, hop into the comments. Let us know who you think's going to the World Series, or if you've got a Rookie of the Year or MVP or Cy Young vote that you think is straight cash, homie. Drop that in there if it's not too far-fetched, or shit, maybe even if it is. You never know. Maybe we'll follow it, make some money together.
Absolutely. Check out the website, stonedownsportspodcast.com. We're on all the socials, Facebook, Twitter, or X, or whatever they're calling it these days. Instagram.
I'm calling it
TikTok.
Twitter. Piss on that. I refuse to call it X.
And once again, give us a like and subscribe. Like Matt mentioned, jump in the comments. Let us know some waiver targets that you like as well. We love the interaction. We got a comment. Supersonic says peace. I think that's a good time for us to peace out. What do you think?
I don't know. Apparently the decision's been made for me. So until Thursday, opening day, can't fucking wait. That shit's like a holiday for me.
Exactly. Have a great night,
See you
folks.
Thursday night. Bye-bye.